Hi, and welcome to the VetStory Podcast, home to the most outrageous stories told in vet med. It's raw, it's unfiltered, unscripted, unedited, just raw, off-the-cuff stories. I'm your host, Reece Generelli, and if you're in the vet med space in any capacity, and you have a story like this, I want to hear it. So get ready to have a laugh, eyes on the road if you're driving, or close the doors to your office. Sit back and enjoy the show. And we are back with another episode of the VetStory Podcast. I am joined with Nathan Sahly, that rhymes with Molly. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for getting this set up, Reece. I've been looking forward to it.
No problem. I had a bit of a tongue twister before we pressed record, but we're all good now.
Absolutely.
Nathan, just introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, like Reece said, my name is Nathan. I get to work with Charity payment plans. We are relatively new to the veterinarian space, been around for in the vet world since the beginning of this year, and have just been learning quite a bit from Reece's podcast, a lot of other people, and ended up reaching out to Reece via LinkedIn just to kind of chat and kind of get an opportunity to present what Charity does for clinics all over the United States.
Nice, wonderful. So Cherry hasn't just been in the vet space though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around since 2019, and we've worked with 40,000 clinics across the United States in terms of like human medicine. So talking dental, cosmetic surgery, aesthetic services. And then we recognize that there is a huge need for financial assistance, kind of talking about access to care in the veterinarian space. And so we're here to kind of fill that gap for those folks that might need it.
So what did you do prior to Cherry?
After I graduated college, I actually stepped into a role in full-time ministry and working for a nonprofit, and then stepped out of full-time ministry into a sales role at a previous tech company.
Hang on. Let's rewind. I think I heard that. I'm pretty sure everybody else heard that. You were in the ministry.
Yes.
Why the shift? What went you there, and then what brought you back?
So straight out of college, actually stepped into a role in ministry and nonprofit world. I got to run a youth ministry for a couple of years, and everybody knows you don't necessarily make the most money when you're in the nonprofit world. And so in order to provide a little bit more financially for my family, I've got a little 10-month-old son at home. My wife wanted the opportunity to be able to be a full-time mom. And so I stepped into the world of sales and tech sales, was in that for a year, and then ended up getting a position at Cherry in June of last year. And it's just been really fun getting to be a part of what they're building, and then got the opportunity to be asked to help start our veterinarian vertical back in January of this year. And we've been off to the races ever since.
Wonderful. Oh, nice. So you had a story about why Cherry is part of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where kind of my like introduction to veterinary medicine almost. Like I grew up with dogs, like I always had a dog in the house. But my wife and I, when we moved across the country, we moved from Illinois to Texas, and we were a couple of months married, decided to get a dog from the Humane Society. His name's Archie. He's phenomenal dog, such a good little boy. And about 3 years ago, we had him for about a year, and my wife had her bottle of prenatal vitamins sitting on her bedside table, and we had left the house. He had the run of the house. He usually did. He did great. But for some odd reason, he decided to eat that entire bottle of prenatal vitamins. And so obviously there is a ton of stuff in there that is not necessarily great for a dog. And so we ended up having to take him to the emergency vet here in Waco, Texas, where we live. And when we get there, obviously the emergency clinic on a Sunday, it's always slam packed, had to wait a couple of hours, and then finally got him in to see the doctor. The doctor looked at us and they said, hey, based on kind of what is in this bottle of prenatal vitamins, there could be a lot of different things that we should be concerned about. We're actually going to need to hospitalize him, and it's probably going to be anywhere from like $7,000 to $8,000. Now, again, I used to work in ministry at the time. I was working in nonprofit, making maybe $36,000 a year. And my wife and I looked at each other and just said, there's no way we can swing it. and there's no chance that we have that financial means. And so we did a little bit of blood work, dropped maybe $250, $300, and then we decided to monitor Archie at home. And now, luckily, Archie's got an iron stomach. He was totally fine a couple days later. But that story from 3 years ago actually led me to Cherry, because I saw that they were in the process of looking to step into the veterinary industry when I joined. And it's people like me that I want to serve, because when we were at the emergency clinic, I think they probably even offered something like a care credit, like a scratch pay, but that was never like introduced to us. That was never an option for us, and we potentially would have taken that, but it wasn't utilized as like a potential tool to potentially save Archie's life. Like, praise God, like Archie's totally fine now, and he was then, but there were some serious things that could have gone real south real quick, and it was the barrier of entry for us was just the finances behind it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I'm sorry it's gone through that with you with Archie, but B, the hospitals should already have something in line like this. They should already have an option like this. And whether or not they had it or not, I mean, if they didn't, they should have. And if they did, they should have at least said, hey, we have this as an option. But this is where Cherry comes in though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where we get to fill a lot of the gap. I think 90% to 95% of the practices that I talk to day in and day out, they probably have something, whether it is a care credit, whether it is a scratch pay, whether it's an internal in-house payment plan system or something like that. They have something, but they're not necessarily utilizing it. They're not bringing it up proactively with their clients. And that's what we kind of do at Cherry. We kind of take a look at financing a little bit differently. If you've noticed over the past 5 to 10 years, like, payment plans are quite large in the like e-commerce space. You can't go to Amazon or Walmart or Apple without seeing, hey, the total amount, and then, or if you use Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, these other payment plans, and saying, hey, you could break it up into 4 payments or whatever have you. And so what we try to do at Cherry is get the opportunity to kind of re-educate clinics on saying, hey, you have a tool probably with whatever those other kind of resources are. Start utilizing it a little bit more proactively. Start bringing it up with your clients, because you never want to be assumptive of what your client's financial being might be. I think that's a big hurdle that we want to try and get over, is we can't put our own personal bias on our clients. And a lot of people are suffering in silence, like my wife and I, of like, hey, like we can't necessarily do it, but if we had an option, we probably could have. And so that's where we hopefully get to step into the gap and be assistants to the clinics that we get to partner with at the end of the day, to provide a payment plan that's both good for the client and for the clinic as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a chance to look at Cherry. There is something about Cherry that is unique that no one really does. And it's about presenting the estimates. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the best shift that we have. Every 9 out of 10 clinics are probably presenting some form of estimate, whether that's a printed out one, a digital one. If they email it to the clients, 9 times out of 10, they're going to show them some form of price and what they think it's going to cost. With Cherry, we make it extremely simple to pair that estimate with what we call our payment estimator. So essentially is they just have to plug in the total dollar amount of whatever that treatment plan is going to cost, and then it spits out exactly what their monthly payments could potentially look like if they wanted to use Cherry at that clinic. So we've taken what we have learned from those big e-commerce brands that know when you present price in a monthly term as opposed to that total dollar amount, that's where people are more likely to, at the end of the day, you're a vet, you're a business as a vet, they're going to spend more money. But downstream from that, that means that you get to perform the best medicine possible for your patients and allow them to get the care that they need. And so that slight shift actually takes the burden off of the veterinary technicians, receptionists, doctors, whoever is usually presenting that price. They just get to do that with every single client. They don't assume whether or not the client needs financing or not. They just put it in their hands. And then the client is way more likely, because of buyer psychology, to say, wait, I can't afford this. Hopefully most people with pets have like a little bit of a monthly pet budget. yeah, I'm going to move forward and get that diagnostic testing. I'm going to move forward with that dental cleaning that I've been kicking down the road for the past 3 years of Fluffy's life, but now I can break it up into 12 monthly payments. Yeah, let's move forward with that.
Yeah, and that's important. And I'm prompting you here because I've seen the system, and I love the system. You were able to do a soft check.
Yeah, so it's a soft credit pull, soft credit inquiry. So it doesn't make an impact to the client's credit score. So there's no risk for clients to get approved. And I was speaking with a practice manager probably last week, and she said a line that I really, really liked. We try and encourage our clinics to put it on their website, their appointment reminders, try to get the client approved before they even walk into the clinic. And the line that the practice manager said was, now we can stop thinking about cost and start thinking more about care. If we're able to remove the concerns and the financial barrier that so many clients are thinking about, especially in this day and age, if we can remove that from the conversation, how much more fruitful are the conversations talking about the best care possible for the patient in the room?
Yeah, that's right. And you can actually do a pre-approval before they come in, correct?
Exactly. So you can pre-approve clients that come before they even get into it. So you can do it on their behalf, or you can send them the application link. They can do it on their website, whatever makes the most sense for them. And they can get that approval amount before even walking into the clinic. So that way they know that they've got that monthly budget in mind as they're stepping into the exam room.
So what you're saying is I can pre-approve a client before they walk in, and it complies with privacy laws. It's information that you already have, as long as you've got a first and last name and an address, correct?
Yeah, for the most part, especially if they're a returning client or if they've filled out information, we're able to do a little bit of a pre-approval. In order to get to the actual approval, the only thing that we need is last four of the social security number. And so that kind of leans back onto the client actually moving forward. And that's how we do that, so that soft credit inquiry.
Right. So, when we put this together, you have a client that you may or may not know already. You might have, a history with them, or you may not, maybe a new client. They could express cost concerns over the phone. They could, I guess when you have people already price shopping, we can assume that there's some cost concerns there. But a pre-approval, you can say, okay, you want to come in for Fluffy's dental. We estimate anywhere between, $700 to $1,200, even sometimes $3,000, depending on what is happening, I guess. We are able then to present a pre-approved monthly plan over 6 to 12 months, I believe, or 3, 6, 12, isn't it? Something like that?
So clients can choose anywhere up to 60 months, actually. So
60 months, wow.
So if they want to choose something that's going to be quite long, but that makes that monthly payment quite small, they're capable of doing that. Our clinics have the power to choose what they want to offer in terms of 0% interest to their clients, to those that qualify. So not everyone qualifies for 0% interest, and not everybody qualifies for Cherry in general. There is some people that we unfortunately aren't able to assist, but we are able to provide that as an option. What a lot of clients like is there's no prepayment penalty. So say they are in a little bit of a sticky situation and they think this smaller monthly payment would make more sense financially for them, but we get a month down the road and grandma gives them a couple $100 or what have you, and they're able to pay that off early. There's no penalty for that.
Good, gotcha. So when we choose a payment plan, and I just say default 6 months, we are presenting this is your monthly repayments over a course of 6 months. You can choose to extend it if you wish, but what is also great, if I remember seeing this correctly, is that you can pre-approve them for $10,000, we'll say, but they only need $700 today. They can come in 3 weeks, 3 months. Hang on, there's a time limit.
120 days.
120 days. So anytime in between that 120 days, they're already pre-approved for 10,000. They've only used 700. They can use the rest if they want to, correct?
Exactly. That's what clients with multiple pets are actually a huge fan of, that because I don't know, like most folks, they probably all want to knock it out in like the same month or the same visit or something like that. And so being able to have that 120-day window of that balance. And then after 120 days, if they come back and that approval kind of goes away, the nice thing is there's no hard credit check. So they can go through the quick 60-second application process again and get their approval amount then as well.
Okay, so I think I love that you have to structure that, to tailor that to clients that come in that are, sometimes can be financially not in the best position.
Absolutely. I think that's the one shift is, yes, like financing is usually what we think of it as. It's for the people that are kind of maybe down on their luck. They don't necessarily have the best financial situation. But I sent over to you, I think PetSmart, Charities, and Gallup actually just did a study that I sent it to your direction, and they came out with some really startling stats. And they came out with it last week as we're recording this. And some of the things that were most interesting were that even clients that make upwards of $90,000 and above are still saying no to veterinarian care. And the main headline is 52% of pet owners either skipped the vet or they're declining necessary care for the past year.
I think that's
a big part of that study was 70% of them said it was because of finances. They were concerned about the financial barrier in terms of bringing their pet into the clinic. And then if they got into the clinic, they were concerned because I think the other stat is since 2014, veterinary kind of services has gone up 60% in the past decade. And so people recognize that things are expensive. Like treatment is expensive, and rightfully so. Like what veterinarians do, like they need to stand behind what they do and their prices, and they have to ultimately run a business, so they need to charge what they charge. But ultimately, like their customer, their person that is paying their bills is also their clients. And if they're not coming in, if they're declining the care that you're recommending, then you're missing out on revenue from the business side of things, but also you're putting your patients at risk. And so one of the kind of tidbits in that study, and it'll be great to kind of maybe drop in the show notes of kind of that study. It's a very quick read.
Yeah.
But I think it was two out of every three clients that were concerned about price that either didn't go to the vet or declined care. 2 out of every 3, if they had a 12-month 0% interest option, I think the study says that their budget would in fact double from what they were willing to spend on the treatment at the clinic. And so that shift right there, like that stat right there, is exactly where Cherry fits in. It's the opportunity to present that to all of their clients, because again, you never want to be in a situation saying, "Ooh, you need financing, you're poor." Like that we don't want to be in
I
that
understand that. Yeah.
We just create this, hey, we partner with Cherry, we provide an estimate with Cherry for all of our clients, not to come across as kind of down or anything like that, but also the studies from that study with PetSmart, Charities, and Gallup is, man, it's not just for the people that are down on their luck, it's for everybody in the gambit. Because again, if your dog needs a surgery, if it's an emergency, different things like that, not everybody has $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 laying around just to pay out of pocket.
Yeah, sometimes we don't budget for these things, right? That's why they are emergencies.
Exactly. I don't have a specific dog emergency fund. I have an emergency fund, but it's not Archie's only emergency fund. We've got our family to look out for as well.
Yeah, no, that I understand. I mean, when you said, was it 70% or 52% of people who earn $90,000?
So 52% of people either didn't go to the vet or declined vet care. And out of those 52%, 70% cited that it was because of finances that they were not moving with care.
And I suppose like any, well, I am assuming here when I say this, but a normal household would have a budget. That budget is already allocated according to what everyone is earning in the household. To throw this in could be a little bit off. And I want to extend this to those people who have breeds who are prone to certain defects. But when you have a pug or a Frenchie, you're going to expect to have some nasal issues. So again, not everyone understands all of this, and when they get presented to a treatment plan to say, hey, this is what it's going to be costing to do XYZ surgery, they go, well, what do you mean? How can it be $3,000-$4,000? but they've just forgotten that they've paid $5,000 for that breed to begin with. So, that's where we are. I get it. I think what I love mostly about Cherry is the fact that you can pre-approve before they walk through those doors. I love that. I love that we can present it with, we've already pre-approved you. This is your monthly payments over the course of 6 months. This is what it looks like over 12 months if we really want to. And, a bonus if they already pre-qualify for a 0% interest, which is fantastic, is also, and that's a cherry on top. But you're right.
Yeah.
You know what? That wasn't meant to be a pun. But I love it. It wasn't intentional, but I love it. I'll take it. I'll coin it. But to frame it to your clients, I think there's some training absolutely will need to go into it. But the way we frame it, I think it's going to make a bit of a difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that whether clinics decide to take a look at Cherry or they take a look at what they're currently using, I think that shift in training and that shift in positioning. One thing that we kind of keep on looking at is, I think another study that I read, Forbes did like a 2024 pet ownership study for all of last year. And we're starting to come into the generation of like over half of pet owners are kind of that young Gen Z, like young millennial. They're these people that are just a different demographic than what pet owners have been in the past.
Yeah.
And they expect things a little bit differently, kind of just the way. And that's another great thing about kind of payment plans just in general is Gen Z is used to, I don't know if you saw, Reese, I don't necessarily 100% agree with it, but you can now use Klarna to do a payment plan on your DoorDash. So for your dinner, you can use a payment plan to pay off your dinner over 6 weeks, which is kind of crazy. But that's the demographic that is starting to be raised up here. And so they're used to payment plans. They're used to breaking things up into monthly payments or kind of those bi-weekly payments. And so it's just something that you get the opportunity to meet your clients where they're at as they're continuing to kind of step into this, the fun that is pet ownership.
Wow. Yeah, no. And it's crazy to hear that we are now putting dinner on layaway.
Wow. I won't speak too much to that, but yes, I think that's where we're at in kind of the world that we're in today.
Jeez. Love it. Okay. So where can we find you? Where we can find Cherry? Give us all the goss.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, hopefully, Reese will put my LinkedIn profile down in the show notes, but feel free to reach out. Always happy to connect with folks, whether you're a pet parent, whether you're a veterinarian, vet tech, owner, practice manager, whoever. I love having the opportunity to hear how Cherry could potentially help you guys at your guys' clinics. You can check out Cherry at withcherry, WITH cherry.com, and just kind of check it out. You can do /veterinarian, or you can just click the veterinarian tab since we work with a couple of different verticals. But our team would love the opportunity to just hear more about your clinic, how we could potentially assist you, and ultimately helping clients say yes to the best care possible and lowering that financial barrier of entry for that. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Oh, that's awesome, Nate. So we'll put all those links into the show notes. They can reach out to you. If you do reach out to Nate via the website, via this podcast, let him know where you found him. So that way he can know the value of the podcast and he can sponsor me next time round. But do that, and we'll hopefully, Nate, you get some traction out of this. I love this. I think that you guys should really go to town in the American market. You're not yet in the Canadian market, which we already established. But when you do, let me know.
Absolutely. Well, you'll be my first call. As soon as we make that shift up north, you'll be the first person I'll be calling.
Wow. Awesome. Mate, thanks very much for joining me today, Nath. I really appreciate it. And for those who have joined us today, please reach out to Nathan and just discover what Cherry is all about. Because as I said, I looked through it. I loved that headspace, that shift there in terms of presenting the monthly payments and the pre-approval. I think that's going to be a game changer the way it presents. So have a good look at Cherry, see what's right for you, reach out to Nathan and his team, and I'm pretty sure they'll look after you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for your time, Reese. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Nathan. Take care now.
And thanks for joining us today. That's all we have time for. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have a story that you would love to share and want to come on the show, drop me an email, reese@ivmsolutions.org. This podcast was brought to you by IVMS, Innovative Veterinary Management Solutions. If you are tired of being a business operator and want to be a business owner, then give me a call. If you've heard of systems like Traction, EOS, Lean, 4DX, and other similar systems, they're all great systems, but none are vet specific. I have taken the best of every system, rebuilt them using our industry KPI standards and your practice core metrics, because every practice is different. I will bring your vision to life. Get your team bought in and aligned to your long-term goals. I will systemize your practice so you can have more time doing what you love to do. Stop having people rely on you. Practice ownership should not be this hard. Let's move from being a business operator and move into the business owner category. If this interests you, go to my website, www.ivmsolutions.org. Until next time, take care.